There are silent heroes among us. We see them every day. We see them on our way to work, at the grocery store, at the gym. They could be our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends, our parents. These are the people that have lived lives we know very little about, that have overcome challenges and obstacles we couldn't even imagine, and have learned great lessons through their struggles that, when shared, have the power of changing other people's lives and ultimately bringing us all closer together. Collective Conversations, Everyday Heroes, Extraordinary Stories is an opportunity for us to hear those stories from those silent heroes. Hello and welcome to Collective Conversations, Everyday Heroes, Extraordinary Stories. I am your host, Joseph Nicholas Masi, but more importantly, our guest today is Antonio Masi. For me, known as originally Uncle Tony and Godfather. Antonio is a renowned artist, but aside from that, there's so much more to him that has led up to where he is at 86 years old, traveling the world, teaching and working his art as a painter. So this journey, this story that we're going to take you on is taking you way back to the origins of Sicily, Mezzogiuso, Sicily, and his journey through coming to the United States, finding his way, and ultimately leading to where he is today as a renowned artist. So I'm not going to give too much away, as I usually do not. I'll leave that to you as you get to witness and listen to Antonio's story. Thanks for tuning in. And if you like this, please do like it and share. Appreciate it. All right. We'll see you next time. Hello, Antonio.
Hi, Joe.
Is it okay if I call you Antonio and Uncle Tony and change there? It's a hard thing to get used to.
I've been called many things, so it doesn't matter.
Good. Or like Godfather, right?
Oh,
Like
Godfather. That's another one.
Good. Well, thanks again for taking time out to be here. I know you have a trip coming up.
Yes.
Where are you?
We're going to Umbria in Italy. I have a group of 19 people. I'm going to teach a workshop in Umbria, a 10-day workshop. We go traveling through the small towns, and I paint with them and teach.
Wow. That's amazing. So every day is a new location?
A new town every day. We have a central location in Spoleto, which is our home base, but we will take excursions to smaller towns with buses or walking, dependent upon how far it is. So it's going to be kind of fun.
And by the way, anything you don't want me to post, I won't post. I'll edit it out. But I have to, can I ask your age?
Sure. 86.
Unbelievable. You have not slowed down at all.
Well, I disagree.
Okay, maybe the pace, but your ambitious and adventurous nature, I don't think has. Or you, me, I'm a witness on outside. So
well, the thing is, my mind is 17, my body's 86. That's the problem.
okay.
My mind wants to do things, and the body says no, 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 no.
Yeah. But you travel a handful of times every year, and internationally.
Yeah, at least 3 or 4 times a year. I like traveling. I like to go to different places. It's just getting more difficult at the airports. But
yeah, just with the walking and the
walking, the waiting, the checking in, the people always seem to be in a rush.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the reasons, aside for the fact that you're my dear uncle, and I admire you. I talked to you about how I've been a witness to your journey from afar. Um, is I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your journey as an artist
Hmm.
and when it really started. And you could take us all the way back because you told me something that I actually had never known about my dad
Hmm.
and how he was a bit of an inspiration for you. You had seen him pick up the brushes, the pencil, and you know.
Well, he was my older brother that I refer to as my kid brother. It's a kind of a play back and forth with him and I. Nick was very talented as an artist, and he went to the high school art design, industrial arts at that time, and I didn't know what to do, so I said, "Oh, I'll try there." So I went. I got in. He went to the School of Visual Arts for a period of time. I figured, let me try that. So I got a scholarship there. Nick was my idol growing up as a kid. We used to play baseball in Central Park in the Great Lawn. He was the right fielder. I was the shortstop because I was the smallest. But he was always my big brother.
Yeah.
So he really got me started on art. And after that, just one thing after another. I went to visual arts. I was freelancing, doing commercials, illustrations for magazines. And then I got a call from the old high school that I graduated from asking me do I want to come back and teach? So I scratched my head and I said, it may be fun. So I did that for 14 years.
Wow.
And
14. I didn't know that.
yeah, I did that for 14 years. And then after that, I worked my way up to being art chairperson of the school. We had about 70 art teachers. And then the next thing I knew, I was having pizza with my brothers, and one of them says, "Let's start a business." We had too many beers, and I said yes. And the next 37 years after that, I left teaching and I went into the printing business with my brothers, and I didn't touch a brush or a pencil in 37 years. Then in 2002, we sold the business, and 2003, I started painting again. So there was a period of 37 years that I didn't really touch art. And after that, my wife bought me a set of watercolors. I started dabbling, and lo and behold, it all came back with a vengeance. And now I'm having a great time with it.
Okay. So let's go a little bit further back. You said you saw my dad do
Hmm.
these things, and as your older brother, you just figured, okay, I'll try that. There had to be something more, some point, than you just trying this thing. There must have been, and we'll get into your work more later, but you don't do it on like a whim. It's kind of an interesting thing to do. There's
It's a
something hooked to you.
it's a
Yeah.
passion.
And
It,
when did that happen in your training?
I think honestly, it started when I was in the fourth grade because the teacher there said to me, "I like somebody to draw me a circus thing on this oak tag up there." I don't know. I decided to try it. I drew elephants. I enjoyed it, and I never forgot that. So I think that particular moment, which goes back to the fourth grade, and forgot all about it until high school, was really a starting point. I enjoyed doing it,
Hmm.
and it was always there. So that's why I love elephants.
Oh yeah,
My
that was
favorite, my favorite animal.
that's interesting because I don't think any elephants have popped up in your most recent work.
No, I have never painted an elephant except at one time in the fourth grade.
Wow. Maybe who knows? The elephant will come back.
It's very possible elephants will go back. Although I am very unhappy that the circus now doesn't have elephants anymore.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that, but it makes sense after all, I'm sure. The animal rights.
Yeah, well, there you put elephants out of work.
Right. Right. They used to work for peanuts.
That's true. They enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you have a couple of in what I believe to be heroic journeys. We'll get back to your artist journey in a minute. I want to go way back
Hmm.
to Sicily and your time there and what Sicily was like at that time in Sicily because that was right. I mean that was right in the heart of when I believe the Americans were starting to come into Italy. Germany was
Well,
there. There was what was happening.
I remember my sister Gina, and we were living in a small town called Menziuso, and we were sitting on the veranda, out balcony, and I was actually sitting on her lap and watching the airplanes going by bombing Italy. I
Wow.
didn't know at that time really what was going on, although I do recall one day the police, the Italian police, the carabinieri, coming into the house and taking whatever they wanted, the wheat that people needed to eat, my father's rifle, shotgun at that time. It was wartime, so they can do anything they want. But I don't know, at least I didn't know at that time, what really was going on. I just have memories of those things going on. Now I put it together. Yes, I understand now.
Yeah.
But it was not a good time. I mean, my parents grew their own food in the field. They grew their own livestock. I remember Nick and I used to bring the grain that my father and brothers grew in the field to the grain mill, and the guy would, with a donkey and that big stone, it's true, it's the way it was, he would grind the wheat. We would bring it back in sacks. He would keep a portion for his payment because that was a barter, there was no money. And my mother and sister would take the flour and make the bread, the pasta, everything was homemade. There were no stores. My mother and sister used to sew all our clothes. And I always used to, being the last of the boys, of six boys, I always got the hand-me-downs. And I'm sure everybody else did. But that's the way life was, and I knew nothing better.
Mm.
I thought that's the way it was. Until one day we got on the bus, went to this big place called Palermo, got on a boat, came to America, and on that boat, sick as a dog, thinking that Frankfurters were sausages, and they weren't. 50 people sleeping in one room on hammocks, that was not normal. I mean, and it was in the winter, the North Atlantic was rough. And Nick and I was one day, I remember sitting on topside and watching the front of the boat, the bow, go in and out of the water like it was never going to come up again. It was a different life.
Wow.
So comparison to what I have today.
Yeah. And so there was no major heads up on, hey, this is what we're doing. It was just we're
No,
packing up, we're going
I
because
had no
your
idea.
father left. Your father left a year and a half
He
earlier.
left a year and a half in advance with some of the older children to establish a home, make some money, so he can send for the rest of the people. I mean, it was my mother, my brother Andy, Nick, myself, and my sister Katie. All of us came on one trip, that last trip, and my father, brothers, and sister had to get enough money together to pay for the fare. I mean, we didn't come here for free. You had to pay.
Right. I
So they
didn't know that.
worked.
I didn't
They
know that.
worked. They worked, and at that time in 1947, they paid like $872. Still have the receipt of all of us. I mean, the four of us coming here. Actually, it was five with my mother coming here to come to America on a freighter, but $872 a one-way ticket. So it was a different life. It was, I mean,
Wow. So
my
that was
father,
that money then, almost $1,000 then?
yeah, that's what they worked for. That's why they came earlier to to save the money so my father could bring the rest of the family over. And it wasn't just my father, my brother Frank, Andy, not Andy, Sal,
So,
Gina, and Dominic. They worked at any job they could get to save the money to bring the rest of the family over. I mean, this is the way the family is and was.
I mean, $1,000 then, that's got to be
Considering they were
10
making maybe
grand.
$30 a week or $20 a week, that's a lot of money to save.
Wow. So basically, once they had you didn't know when you were going to be
I have
reunited.
no idea.
It was just whenever they got the money, that was their mission. Get the
I
money, get
didn't
the.
even know they were doing that. I mean, I don't remember those things. Let's put it that way. But that's what was going on.
Wow. And so what are some of your earliest memories of arriving in the United States?
Well, when we came to Manhattan Harbor, lower Manhattan Harbor, it was at nighttime. We were in the boat. We all went up on deck, and you saw the Statue of Liberty, not knowing what it was, and seeing these lights move. I didn't know what they were. It turned out to be cars. As far as I know, they could have been fireflies. I had no idea. These memories, they're naive memories. Yes, they're naive. But this is the first time I've seen these things. It's like a spaceman or a Martian coming to Earth and seeing these things here. He had no idea what they are until later on you learn. I had no idea what they were until later on.
So you had never seen a running automobile.
Nope. Except the bus we took to Palermo at that time.
Mm.
But when you're growing up as a kid in a small town where there's not even anything to go shop.
Yeah. No water, right? No running water. There was no running
No,
water.
Nick and I used to carry the water. We used to go with these big buckets or vases to actually in front of my grandmother's house where the town water was. In fact, when I went back years ago, I made sure I went to the well. No more water, but
Oh, wow.
my grandmother's house was still there.
Yeah, I know. We went there when I visited. That I didn't know about the well. I would have loved to visit the well. I'm going to
It's
go back. I will go back because there's
yeah.
the whole graveyard that's there too, where you were
Well,
telling
that
me.
is the most interesting aspect of it for me. I went back again a couple of years ago, and when I had my cousins there, I said to them, "We're in men's use." I said, "I want to go to the graveyard." They all were very shocked at that. What do you want to go to the graveyard for? I said, "I want to go to the graveyards. I want to see the grave of my grandpa Francesco, who in essence is really very responsible for a great part of my career, and just want to see it." Well, after a while, I convinced them. We went to the graveyard. It was the most interesting part of my trip. It was like seeing an album of all the dead relatives for centuries because they have the tombstones all in one group, like all the Masis and my mother's family, the Bazulkas, all together in a sense. And there's a medallion picture of all these people. I got to see pictures of my grandmother, which I didn't remember, my great grandmother. And you see these, it's like a photo album in stone. I found it
These
fascinating.
are like carved
They're
in
medallions. No, they're not carved. They're little
or the medallion.
medallions.
So they were
Put
imprinted.
into the stone.
They're imprinted
No, they're just set in.
with the actual photo,
Right. It was fascinating.
the
To me, it
original
felt,
photos,
hmm?
the original photos.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe some of them may have been little paintings or sketches. But I found that the most interesting part of the graveyard and my trip, by the way,
Yeah. Wow.
fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. So you gave us a little. You dripped something in there. Your grandfather Francesco was a big part of
Oh yeah,
your
he
career.
was.
But wait, I don't want to tell anyone yet. I want to get.
Okay.
I will get there because that's a big piece. Okay, so you get to the United States. This is like a world of like literally a foreign world in so many ways. What was it like growing up, assimilating into this new world? What was that like?
Well, first thing they did, my mother and father believed in education. The only two that could really, or three could really get an education was Nick, myself, and my sister. We were the youngest. The other ones went to work,
Hmm.
any job they can find. This was unfortunately from my older brother's part of it. Uh, so I remember going into elementary school. I was already 8 years old, and they put me in say kindergarten for one day. I mean, silly, but because I couldn't speak English. That's I think the second day they put me in the second grade for a couple of more days, and they realized that I was too big. Again, I go to the third grade, and I spent the rest of the time in the third grade, the rest of the year, which would be a couple of months. And from the fourth grade on, I went to the regular grades because of age. You're
Hmm.
so old, you belong in this grade. But I couldn't speak English. I remember having to eat lunch there, and that was one of the most awful things to do. They're giving you beets. I never knew what beets are. They're ugly. They're ridiculous. But, you know, you don't get off the table until you finish eating. I learned to eat American food.
Wow. And
And
did you and my dad spend time together in school? Were you in the same schools?
no,
Like,
he was older, so he had probably a harder time because they probably put him in the sixth grade and not
right,
knowing any English. I mean, uh, you got to the grade based on your age, not
right.
your abilities.
So was there no school? You weren't going to any school in Sicily?
Oh, yeah, we went to school in Italy. Yeah,
Yeah.
we all were in the same classroom. I
Okay.
mean, it's not like in America you have different grades. Remember, it's a small town,
Yeah, yeah,
so it's a one-room schoolhouse. Everyone's in the same grade. I mean, it's the same building, but the different levels,
yeah. And
like
so
it was out west.
you learning math and history and
I
you
don't remember what
don't
they
remember.
learned. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I know, you know, I can speak the Sicilian dialect, which is becoming obsolete, and yet there is a movement to try to preserve these dialects
Hmm.
because it's being lost. I don't recall the subjects. but I knew I was in the classroom with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you all used to speak it every Sunday as, everyone would go to see grandma.
Yeah,
You guys
everyone went
play
to
around the
supper.
table, you'd be drinking your Sanka and playing pinochle, um, and speaking Sicilian.
Yes, we did. But my mother made it a rule. She says, "You're in America, you speak English."
Yeah.
And she learned English. She went to school to learn English. She
She.
went to school and she took her immigration. She passed it. She got her naturalization paper. She pledged allegiance. She was very proud of it.
Wow, I didn't know she went to school for English.
Oh yes, learn English.
Oh man, did I love her? She was. Those visits were very special.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. And I bring that up because I remember once she passed, I don't think I ever heard my dad speak Sicilian again.
Well,
And I
look,
didn't, one of the things we were a little frustrated with was like, why didn't you teach it to us? But like grandma, my dad was the same way. He was very proud of being American and really was okay with leaving Sicily for much of it, not all of it, but
well, I'll tell you. When I went back the first time many years ago, and I saw my mother's niece, which is my first cousin, because my mother had one sister in Italy.
is that
They,
Paola?
hmm?
That Paola?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were very close. But Paula had passed away. I didn't realize that my mother and her sister kept very close touch until the daughter brought out pictures that my mother used to send her. And there were old pictures of the family in America that I had never seen that my mother would send to her. But my first cousin, Paula, said to me, as much as my mother and her sister were unhappy of being separated because they never saw each other again,
Wow.
uh, her mother, Paula's mother, said to me, your mother and your father did the best thing by leaving. There was nothing here in Sicily and in Italy after 1945. It was
Hmm.
devastating. So it was the best thing, the best decision that my father and my mother made when they decided to come to America to see if there was a better life for the kids. Uh, I really think it takes a tremendous, tremendous amount of courage to come to a foreign country with 8 children and not knowing what to expect. I don't know who would make a call like that these days.
Wow. Get goosebumps. You're right. I love that you said that not know what did not know what to expect.
They
It
didn't.
must have been so potentially bad, right? That they felt like the unknown was a better option than what was
Yes,
coming.
that's true. That's true. It was not a pleasant experience to be in a devastated nation after being bombed and depleted,
Yeah.
and there was nothing there. There was no jobs. I mean, I probably would have been a farmer at this point if I was even alive, because they didn't live too long. You know, their life expectancy is not like ours either. So I don't know. And all I know is that my mother and father made a decision that is, I think, tremendous and certainly changed the entire course of my whole family's life.
Yeah. I'm kind of proof of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what I also noticed, certainly in you and definitely my dad is that spirit of taking risks really carried through. My dad didn't always make decisions that were, calculated to the exact. This is how it was. Just like, this feels right, and we're going to move forward in that direction. And I think you did that. Well, starting the business, right? That was a
Hmm.
big leap for all of you.
Well, your dad had a good job before we went into business together. I had a good job as a teacher. I was the chairman. I had about 70 art teachers working underneath me. I certainly had a good job, and everybody thought I was crazy to one day say, I'm leaving. And I just felt, for I don't know why, but be going into a business with my brothers was the right thing to do. Well, little I could contribute, and we all had our strengths. That's what made it work.
Mm,
We all didn't do the same thing. We all didn't have the same strengths. Each of us had individual strengths that combined made it work. And the other thing that's very important in business when you start out a business with three other people is that you don't have to worry about them trying to rip you off, go behind your back, or do anything unscrupulous because it was a family. I mean, think about it. They worked hard, and I think this is part of it. When I was a little kid coming to America. They worked hard to make money, to save the money, to send it to my father, give it to my father, who bought the tickets to bring the rest of us over. Now we got Dominic and Sal working their butts off here to earn money so that I could come over here. There's a loyalty there that transcends logic.
mm.
It's just emotional family connection. So whatever decisions were made were not logical. For me, everybody thought I was illogical to make that. Even my wife thought I was crazy, and she stayed with me at least. But I felt it was the right thing to do because
Mm.
that's how I felt. And that's really how we decided.
Wow. What was that process like? Were you, I remember my dad was basically working two jobs. I think
Yeah.
Uncle Sal and Uncle Dominic were setting up shop, right?
Hmm.
What was that like for you? How did you
I
make
was
that?
working two jobs too. I was teaching in the daytime, in the afternoon. After 2:30, when we got out, I would go out and go down to the plant, printing shop, uh, picked up my samples, and went knocking on doors. I was the fuller brush man of printing. I knew nothing, I knew no one, and I kept knocking on doors. And I always cold calling was the term.
Yeah, like
And that's what I did.
literally, but it wasn't all the
Oh no,
phone,
no, no, no. I
just
knock on the
showing up.
door and show samples and meet them and try to develop a relationship. Uh, it worked out in the long run. That's I got some very nice people and very nice clients.
Why do you think you were the salesperson? And by the way, for people who
I
don't
was the
know,
youngest. I went to school the longest. I didn't have a heavy Italian accent,
hmm,
which all my brothers had, except me. I knew about art. I knew some people. I was a art chairman. So in other words, I've worked with people, especially in education. As you know, teaching 5 classes a day in front of people, you don't become shy in front of a group.
hmm,
My brothers were shy in front of groups.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
the main thing. They were tremendous workers, They were tremendous people with a big heart, but they were shy. You needed someone in sales who said, all right, you don't want it? You get 90% rejections and only maybe 10% accept. If you can take 90% of rejections, you belong in sales.
Yeah. Yeah. And you didn't really have, did you along your way, did you take sales training? Did you go to any courses
Oh,
as
sure.
you got, you
We
did?
have, yeah, we had the Printing Industries of America. That was an organization for printers. I would go at nighttime to take classes in sales, in bookkeeping, in profit and loss statements, how to read them, uh, you know, management. I would go after work and then take the long ride home at night in a train. And yeah, I took those classes because I didn't know about printing. I wanted to know as much as anybody else. So when I got out to talk to clients, I knew what I was talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I went back to school at night. To the, these were industry courses given by professionals from the industry.
Got it. Okay. So prior to that, your drive or your motivation to be an artist and a teacher and a chair was what? What did you enjoy about
Uh,
that?
I loved working with kids, young people. My young people, they were 16 and 17-year olds. You know, it was high school art seniors that I taught. And they were really not kids anymore. They're pretty much close to adulthood. And they're ready for going out to work or going to college. I enjoyed the interaction with the young people when you show them how to do something, and all at once a light lights up and says, oh, that's what it is.
Mm,
There is an enjoyment in education that teachers get when you help someone, and especially a young person, and you put them on a path that you know will be their entire life. I mean, to this day, I still get people, you know, past students saying, if it wasn't for what you said, what you did, etc., my whole life would be different. And
wow.
that was it's selfish in a way, helping people, but in helping people, you're also helping yourself.
Sure. Sure. So you had to put that away. What was now the new driver for
I
you?
didn't put that away,
Oh, you didn't.
no, because one of the philosophies I had in my sales business was I want to help you, my client, be better. When my client, who was just a buyer, print buyer, they weren't the owners of the business, when they looked good, they were very happy. And when they were happy, I was happy. So I use that in essence, trying to make sure that the clients we got and the work we did for them was the best we could possibly do. And I knew that my brother Sal and Nick and Dominic would absolutely do the best they could. And when a client would call up and says, I need this, I said, okay, I'll give you a price. And they said to you, no, no, you don't have to give me a price. I know you guys are honest. You can't expect more than that in return.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, they had trusted you so much because you make them look good in front of their boss. And when they looked good and they were happy, it dribbled down to us.
Got it. So you took that same philosophy of helping
Same
people.
philosophy. Do the best you can for people.
Was it like for you? So you were getting some gratitude from that. Also, you guys did very well, right? I'm
Hmm.
sure it was a slow climb, but
It was a
once
slow climb.
you guys were in the heart of New York City, right in the
Yep.
Flatiron District, right?
Yep.
And you were in business for 37 years.
Hmm.
You all put your kid, you provided for your families, your kids through school. I mean, it was you realized the American dream.
Yes, but there's another part to having a business I think a lot of people don't really see. Okay, we had I think 18 or 20 people working all together at the shop. It's not 18 or 20 people we were involved with. They were married. They had children. When you add all of that up, we're talking about maybe 75, 80, 90 people that in essence our little company was taking care of.
Mm,
It goes beyond, and that's one of the things I found is missing these days. People don't look beyond how much that company really affects everyone.
yeah, yeah, right. That's very true. Pull out and look at the impact. So again, another layer of meaning. What about putting down the brushes? What was that like for you? Did you just made this very clear, I'm done or done for now, or I don't know what this is going to look like, but I can't do this anymore. I've got to focus on
I couldn't
this.
do both. I couldn't do both. I couldn't divide myself up and say, I'm going to be this in the daytime, this at nighttime. Being in the business with my brothers and trying to start up a business was a job that was 727, not 724. And add a little extra you have to add on to that because it required, on my part, meeting as many people who I thought could help us and
Mm,
work in those areas. So I couldn't really be a 9 to 5 job. When you're in business, it's not a 9 to 5 job.
yeah, yeah. Because you're going out for dinners, you're going out,
You're
you're
going out
working on your
everywhere, even on
schedules.
weekends. You're
You
still
got
part.
weekends. Um, yeah,
There's also paperwork involved. It's not just meeting people, shaking hands.
yeah.
It's
And
just
so you made that decision early on, the clean cut. Like I
yeah,
have to.
yeah. I can't do both. That was it, and that was the end of it.
And there was another, right? Big unknown. You don't know what this, you
Oh
know,
no,
your hearts were in the
I
right
didn't
place.
know if the business was going to take off, but I knew we would certainly give it the best we possibly could, and I felt it was important that I be part of it because it was my family. They weren't strangers. If they were strangers, I would say be a different decision maybe I would have made.
Yeah.
But this was family, and that's basically why I made that decision. I left a very good job. I mean, who knows?
Right. Yeah.
My summers off. I was off at 2 o'clock. Had my own office, secretary. I mean, I had a nice, easy life. So when I left, everyone thought you're crazy. Well, I was crazy, but I was crazy for the right reasons. They were my family. I felt I could contribute something.
Mm,
Whether or not it would succeed, I had no idea.
yeah. Oh, awesome. There was also something a little crazy, which I'm sure people would like, why would you do that? You found yourself out in Montauk. How did that happen?
Oh, that's an easy one. My
Because no one was
sister,
going out there back then. Like
no,
what
no, no. My Liz and I, my wife,
by the
and
way, this is what, 60 years ago?
more, yeah, yeah, 1968.
Okay.
My sister, older sister Gina, who was like a second mother to me, and Mike, her husband, said to us one day, "How'd you guys like to take a trip out to Montauk?" I looked at him and said, "Where's Montauk?" Uh, we had, my wife and I had just gotten back from Cape Cod. We loved Cape Cod. And we were actually thinking of buying something up there because we loved it. We were living in Manhattan at that time, so we needed a place to get away. but it was over 6 hour drive. That was a long drive to Cape Cod. So when Mike and Gina invited us to Montauk, it was a 2 hour drive, and it looked very much like Cape Cod in the raw. It was nice. And it was only 2 hours from Manhattan at that time.
Yeah, it wasn't
So
traffic, right?
we went out there, I think it was July or August, Mike and Gina, and it was just a day trip. So we went out in the fall, Liz and I, looked around and says, let's buy some land. So we bought a piece of land figuring, we're going to build it down the road. Over the winter, we kept saying, what are we waiting for? So in 1969, we had the house built. And we would go out there on weekends. And it was our place to get away. Because Liz, as you know, my wife, was always a busy artist. And it was Montauk that I met some nice people. One of them was Ronnie DeRoss, who was an artist, art director, and he knew I got into printing. So we made friends, and I picked up some nice clients with him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you never know where it's going to come from. And it was in Montauk that I met somebody who, in many ways, affected everything else.
Amazing. And then you mentioned to my dad, hey, you should check out Montauk.
No, I said to your dad, why don't you go out there for the weekend with your kids? So he went out there with a couple of days. And knowing your dad, I had a screen to be fixed. He fixed the screen. That's the way he is. And then next thing I knew, he bought a piece of land and back with me. And I said, great.
So that's so funny. That's what he does. We went to visit friends in Jupiter in, I think, 86. He's looking around. He had no intention of buying. And he's like, you know what? I think we should look at buying something at Jupiter. 1986. I don't have to tell you what Jupiter is now, that was what he did. He was very intuitive, and again, that the risk wasn't almost part of the equation. It was, this feels like the right thing to do.
There are two kinds of decisions in the world, one with your head and one with your heart. There are people who do nothing except with their head, and there are people who do nothing with their heart. Unfortunately, neither one of them is 100% right all the time.
That's true.
You have to expect failures in both.
It's true. Might as well go with the heart,
Well, that's your field. Some people would rather go with the brain.
That's true. That's true. I try to use both.
Well, that's when you get into a dilemma.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. Okay, so we go through Ads Color. That's the printing company. 37 years. Not easy, but you all have your strengths. You end up exiting. Actually, you guys sold right before 9/11, if I remember.
Two of my brothers sold before Nick and I bought them out. And then before 9/11, it was about 2000, the year, no, it was 1999. The building was sold, and the landlord wanted to give us a 1-year extension. I said, 1-year extension? We can't have a 1-year extension with all the heavy equipment we have and the clients. We can't do that. I need a 10-year lease with another option after that, because that was the way we had it before, which made it sense. He said, no, 1 year. So I knew he was trying to get rid of us. And Nick and I looked at each other and said, we're in our 60s. I don't want to start all over again by having to move all this equipment from the 14th floor, find another location, be down 6 months. And what is going to happen to our clients? they're not gonna wait for us, even though we could get some work done, subcontract. So we decided to sell, and luckily we found someone. And in 2000 we sold, and then the rest I had to stay to a work agreement.
Yeah.
But Nick didn't want to stay. I don't blame him. But I stayed for the next 2 years as a work agreement, which was very interesting. He
Yeah.
wanted me there, but he did not want me to do any sales. He paid me for doing nothing except taking the clients out to lunch and dinner. Which I did.
Okay, that's a pretty good gig.
Nice job, nice job for 2
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is winding down. Were you starting to think about, all right, I'm going to start painting again? Or it wasn't until Aunt Liz said,
Yeah,
hey,
it was my wife, Aunt Liz, who bought me a set of paints and said, you used to do this. Now you're going to have all this free time. What are you going to do? I said, well, I'll try painting again. And so she would take me to workshops that she would go to and would tag along. She would sign me up for classes I never knew. Teacher once asked, I was out in Arizona she was taking a workshop. So I'm the chauffeur. She signs me up for a class to be there so that I can drive the car back and forth. She says to me, what are you doing in this class? I said, I don't know. My wife signed me up. Well, that particular class was a turning point for me. It was this woman, watercolor artist, and she was brave and bold and dynamic. She got me excited. Not physically, artistically. Artistically.
Basically. Okay.
And then I started taking it more serious, and lo and behold, one thing led to the other.
Yes. Which brings us to what you are, I believe, most well known for, which are your bridges.
Yes,
And I believe you have done every bridge.
Major bridges of Manhattan, New York City, major bridges. There are many bridges in Manhattan and New York City, but I did the 9 major bridges that really set the tone for the entire bridge building in the world. The Brooklyn Bridge set the tone for it all. That was the first major bridge throughout. And it was a funny situation how it all started, as you know, going back to...
No, how did you get into bridges? What bridges?
Well, when we came to America, we lived on 74th Street. And my grandfather, Francesco, worked on the 59th Street Bridge, which is the Queensboro Bridge, is on 59th Street. So what is that? 15 blocks away. What's the chances of that? He worked on that bridge for 9 years as a laborer. So after the bridge was finished, he went back to Sicily with his family, except my father decided to stay. He didn't want to go. But anyway.
And this is Francesco, whose picture you saw in the graveyard.
Mm-hmm. And also it's in my book. I put him in my book.
And also, my grandfather, your father, didn't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed here and enlisted.
Eventually, when World War I broke out, he was going back to Italy to join the Italian army. But the point was, Italy in the First World War was on the same side. And somebody convinced him or told him, why go back there? Once you join the American army, you're both on the same side. And that's
another good move. Yeah.
That was, again, things just happen. Is it a fortuna, as we say in Italian? We don't know. Is it a grand divine plan? We don't know. All I know is at the right place, at the right time, the right decision happens.
Amazing. Okay, so back to Francesco. You see he worked for 9 years
Hmm.
on the 59th Street Bridge.
Right. So when I was painting, I was getting serious now. I decided it was about 2006, about 3 years into my so-called painting career. I decided to do a painting of the 59th Street Bridge in honor of my grandfather. Well, it was a big painting, 40 by 60. I was younger then, more energetic, and I liked it. And my wife said to me, "Why don't you enter that in a contest?" I said, "No, no, come on." She says, "Yeah, yeah, go ahead." So she entered it for me, because I didn't enter shows. She did. She entered it for me in the artist magazine. One day I got a call from the editor, says, "Congratulations, you have won first prize." Whoa. I said, "Who are you?" Well, she's the editor in chief, which over the years I've gotten to know her. And that set the whole pattern. And then I said, "Well, why don't I try a few more bridges?" So I started doing bridges. And then eventually, a newspaper on Long Island got a hold of it and did an article on me, an 8-page spread called, and it said, "Bridge Master." So that sort of took off after that.
Amazing. Now, when you did that first bridge, the 59th Street Bridge, did you take your easel, your paint?
No, I went. It's a big 40 by 60, so you really paper, and you really can't do it outdoors. The wind and it. I went and I made sketches. I made little color sketches. I took pictures of it. I went in the day, in the evening, at nighttime. Just different versions of it until finally I found something I wanted to do. It was a process to finally get to the final.
Interesting. So you took all these kind of different perspectives,
Hmm.
photography, sketches, different angles, and then you put all of this, laid it out, and said, "All right, how do I want to put this together? What's
Well, what I did was I made different sketches of the different angles, different views. And then the one that I liked the best is what I decided to do.
okay?
And the one I liked the best was the one when I took the tram riding across. There's a tram there that you go from Manhattan to Welfare Island, which is Roosevelt Island now. It used to be called Welfare Island. And from that tram ride, I got a beautiful view of the bridge and the distance, Queens, and everything. And so that's the one I did.
Wow. And that's what won the award. I
Yeah,
mean, you put a lot of time and effort into that painting.
I put a lot of time and effort into all my paintings, even though they may be small or big. To me, painting is not copying what's in front of you. It's an expression of how you feel about that and what it says to you. Every bridge to me is a portrait. Is a portrait of the time it was built, the people who built it, the economic and political of that time. All is reflected in that bridge.
Mm,
Every bridge has a story, just like people. How it got to be, the struggles, the fights, the problems with it. And they
the,
all have
the, the
problems.
loss of life on
Oh,
those
yes.
bridges.
Well, they didn't count loss of life in those days. They
Yeah,
still don't know how many people died because it was, there was no safety. I mean, Brooklyn Bridge was built. Workers got $2 a day for it, 10, 12-hour day, $2 a day. I mean, that's below minimum today, I think.
yeah. And the majority of those were Irish,
They were
Italian.
Italians. 16 million Italians came to America between 1870 to about 1916. They were the laborers who built the bridges, the subways, the tunnels.
Wow.
The Irish were involved in other things up in Boston, Massachusetts. The
Ah,
majority of Italians came to New York as laborers, and they were encouraged to come with the, should we say, the lure of money, jobs, because there
yeah.
was nothing there in Europe. So that's why my grandfather came for work. He didn't come for the better life. There was no immigration at that time. People would come and go back and forth. So he
Mm,
came because of money, the lure. The bridges were built primarily by immigrant Italians and and subways and the tunnels.
I did not know that. That's amazing.
And most of them were, all of them were designed by immigrants.
Really?
This one man, Amand, a Swiss, designed 6 of the major bridges of New York, which no one ever heard of him. An immigrant.
Geez, so you became really, I mean, I say this in a passionate way, but like obsessed about bridges, right?
Absolutely.
It became a kind of a rabbit hole for you of wanting to, it seemed what I really appreciate, even as an actor, the 90% of the work is the preparation.
Hmm.
Like
Absolutely.
it's the homework.
The
And you do,
surface.
it sounds like you do a ton of the research, the angles, the history, story,
Mhm.
like that's what really informs that final.
That's what I try to get into the final painting. I mean, I do lectures on bridges. I'm doing one next Monday night to a group of people on the history of New York bridges. PowerPoint presentation. People are fascinated to hear how a bridge was built, what it went through. This, I mean, like the Brooklyn Bridge. If it wasn't for a woman named Emily Roebling, the wife of Colonel Roebling, that bridge would have never been built.
That's right. He died right midway through, and
No,
she
no,
took.
his father died 2 weeks afterward. The son, Colonel Roebling, is a son who took it over after the father died because he was also an engineer. 2 years into the construction of the bridge, he got paralyzed by getting the bends, and the bridge took 13 years. His wife, Emily, learned everything about bridge building. She would go to the site every day with his written instructions, telling them what to do, the men. So if it wasn't for her, the bridge would have never been built. And in 1957, after all these years, they put a tiny little plaque on the Brooklyn Bridge and thanking Emily Roebling. I mean, that's ridiculous. There's a story there. There's a play there.
There's a
There's a movie there. I know someone wrote a book about it, but it is amazing what that woman did.
the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah, the first, the first bridge of its kind, the grandfather of all bridges, modern bridges.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's
Or the
that's what.
grandmother of hope.
Well, that's what I like to know about bridges. Every one of them has a story. The Brooklyn Bridge has a story. Manhattan Bridge has a story. The Verrazano Bridge has it. They all have stories.
Yeah,
I like to know the story behind it so then when I'm painting it, I know what I'm painting.
that's beautiful. Love that. I really appreciate that. And I don't know if people really know that that's part of certainly your process or an artist's process.
Well, I don't think it's important for people to know. I think it's important for people to react emotionally and they don't know why.
Mm,
That's
yeah,
the job of an artist, to get people to react, not to have to explain to them how they should react.
it should be in there.
If it's there, if it's there, it's there. I mean, people buy the paintings of my bridges and hang them up because of whatever reason. Maybe that was the first bridge they went over across as a child, or maybe
Mm,
they grew up underneath that bridge. They all have memories. So they all have memories.
That's amazing. I'm still I the transition that you made in retirement, where you didn't really have retirement, you just had another career, your third career essentially.
Well, let's see. I was artist, freelance artist, art teacher, printer, and now artist again. So maybe
Yeah.
it's four. I'm looking for the fifth one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it might end up teaching or speaking. I mean, you're speaking now. Do you just go and speak on bridges now,
Yeah.
or
Well, I have two PowerPoint presentations. As you know, I have two books out. One, The Golden Age of Bridges, which I give PowerPoint presentation to groups on that. And I have another second book that I wrote with my friend Joan, Lady Liberty, which is
Hmm,
on the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. I also give speeches, PowerPoint presentation on the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. So
amazing,
maybe that's what I'll do next. Who knows?
phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking me through this and your time. I've
Sure.
got even more questions. So, when I see you again,
We'll
we'll,
see
we'll
you again.
yeah. Uh, I just, I know that a lot of people who reach that point in life of kind of like what's next, especially after having a career, if there was anything you could impart that just your lived experience of moving from that 37-year career into finding this, what would it be?
Well, my feeling is don't retire. There is no such thing as retirement except when you're dead. You retire when you're dead. As long as you're alive, you keep doing things, keep yourself busy. If you like what you're doing, don't change it unless you know there's something else you want to do.
Hmm.
I don't believe people should retire because it says, I'm 65 now, I should retire, or this or that. That should not be a guide for you. The guide is what you like to do. And if you like doing it, keep doing it. And if you want to change something, you want to try something else, okay, before you decide to leave what you're doing, try what you want to try first. See if you really like it.
Hmm.
Give it a 6 months, a year. Do it while you're doing it. And if you really like it, then you make the change. But don't ever retire. Keep yourself busy. Because if
Yeah.
you don't keep yourself busy, you're only working towards that big day when it's all over. And that's what you're doing. You're wasting your life away. Waiting for what?
Hmm. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put in somewhere in the description where we can find your work, your
Oh, sure.
website, right? You've got social media, your website. We could buy your books.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously,
You can buy my
order
prints,
your
prints of my print. My website is pretty much where you get all the information, AntonioMasi.com.
great. And you know what? Maybe there'll be a part two because I still have more questions
Okay.
for you.
Bring the beer.
That's fine.
Non-alcoholic.
Or my coffee. That's right.
Non-alcoholic.
Are you totally alcohol free? Have you been
Yeah.
for years?
I've been, I mean, I have nothing against alcohol. I
Yeah.
love to drink, but I developed a vertigo about 17 years ago, and I don't drink because of my vertigo. That's the only reason. But a glass of
Nice.
wine is fine. A scotch now and then is fine, but uh,
You don't
you
want to
just
mess
have
with
to make decisions. That's all.
it. Yeah.
It's a choice.
Good. All right, Antonio, Uncle Tony, Godfather, thank you so
God's
much.
on.
I do love you very much. Thank you. And I will see you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. And we
Oh,
love you too.
okay.
Good
Bye
night.
bye.